Welcome, 4th and 9 victory. Stop, hold on, baby. I'm your boy, Fight On Christian.
And I'm your boy B Jenkins. We back at it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're back to do our position grades. Coming off that victory bell victory that we got against UCLA at home in the Coliseum. The USC Trojan was victorious 29-10. So glad we finished the season off at 93, has an opportunity to go 10-3. So shout out to our USC Trojans. All right, man. Before we get started, somebody wants to say something. Go ahead, baby.
There you go. Say fight on.
Right
Say
on.
fight on.
All right. So let's get right into it. Our first segment, we're going to give our overall coaching grade for offense, overall coaching grade for defense, overall grade for the offense as a whole, overall grade for defense as a whole, and special teams, and the overall team grade. What you got, B?
All right. Overall coaching on the defense, I want to go B plus. Of course, we have a habit of starting off slow, and I mentioned it beforehand, and you also brought it back up on a live. Maybe Danton Lynn saves his exotic looks, his exotic packages for the second half. That way, teams can't can't scheme for them, right? From an offensive perspective, they can't find a way to go into halftime and make adjustments. That's the word I'm looking for. They can't make adjustments to them because why we're not showing those looks into the second half. So um, the second for the third game this season, maybe the second game this season, we pitched a shutout in the second half. I know we did against I want to say against was it against Nebraska? We pitched the second shutout in the second half. I want to say it was against
That was
Nebraska.
Nebraska and Northwestern.
Nebraska and Northwestern. So we kind of have a habit of saving our best for last, for the second half. I wish we would come out in the first half and play just as aggressive on defense, especially against the better teams. We found out that, hey, look, they could potentially get you in trouble in the second half. We found out against a team like Oregon and against a team like Notre Dame that, that's not always going to work. But maybe, once we get more experience, once we get more quality along that defensive line, that may shift. But for right now, it's been one of his strong points is to go into halftime and make those adjustments. So again, we got to set out in the second half. We'll actually, if you look at the overall totality of the game, the defense only gave up 10 points. They gave up, a passing touchdown in the first half, and actually both of them was in the first half. So kudos to Coach Lynn making those adjustments, showing those pressures late. I want to say a B plus, and that's only because of the slow start.
And overall defensive grade?
Overall defensive grade, B plus.
And offensive coaching and offensive
Yeah.
grade.
I'm going. Well, I thought we were going to alternate, but you want me to go ahead and finish it out? I'll finish it out. All right. Overall defensive. You don't want to alternate?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and. So you just did overall defense and defensive coaching, right?
Yeah. Overall defensive coaching. Let me hold on. Let me get with the defense then. Let me go ahead and address that. The trenches. We all see what the deficiencies are, right? Those are the trenches and at linebacker. The more big time games we play in this new conference that we in, I don't know what the future holds, whether or not they're going to go independent or what. But we're going to have that size up front. We're going to have that true anchor, like you said, as you said, the zero technique. We'll have to have that space eater, and that we don't have. The problem is along that defensive line. I'm going to give them overall a B on the 2. They're undersized. Our best talent is undersized. It really should be at the edge. But we always find a way, like I said, to get the job done in the second half. So overall, I want to say B, the secondary has been the surprise of this defense. The ability to bring in players. We had two players to go out. Well, actually, we had more than that. We had Prophet Brown to go out at the beginning of the season. He didn't even play. We had Chasen Johnson to go out. He didn't play. And along the season, we had Kamara Ramsey go down multiple games. They had Bishop Fitzgerald, right? So, but you had a leader in DeCarlos Nicholson on that side of the defense in the defensive backfield. But you also had Marcellus Williams and the other kid from Texas. Why I keep blanking on this name? What's the kid's name? The DB number 22.
Conley.
Braden Conley. So they've actually been a surprise of the defense. So I expect for Jay Walker to continue to do good things. But I was also pleasantly surprised by Alex Graham. He made big contributions, and I look for him to make even larger steps as we head into the bowl season next season. So I want to say that the secondary was the saving grace of this team, and the defense, made adjustments when they needed to make adjustments. So I want to say a B also.
All right. Real quick, defensive coaching, I'm gonna give a B. The scheme and everything was great. Scheme wise, I would give them an A. We've seen countless times where people were in positions even in the first half to make a play. The player just didn't make the play.
Right.
So overall defense, as far as the performance, it's a tale of two halves, right? The first half, I would have gave him a C. In the second half, I would have gave him an A. So right. I'm going to give him overall a B. And the reason I'm giving the coaching staff is a B is because somehow, somewhere, we got to figure out how to get these guys to play 4 quarters, right? How you have to figure out a way. I mean, to me, it's not schematically an issue or anything like that. It's just getting these guys focused to play in the first half like they play in the second half. We've seen it countless times yesterday where people were in position, right? Missed sacks, opportunity at sacks, tackles for loss, and things like that. And the play wasn't made. So it wasn't a scheme issue. But somehow, especially next year, we got to be able to get the defense to play 4 quarters of football and not wait to the second half. So defensive coaching staff is going to get a B. And overall defensive performance, I'm giving them a B. And you'll understand why when we break down into position groups, because that counts into your overall score. All right, moving on to offense. Offensive coaching grade, and then overall offensive grade.
Okay, offensive coaching grade. I'm going to give Lincoln Riley an A+, but it's not for the reason that most people expect. The reason why I'm giving him A+ is he's setting an example for the younger players. If you notice, in the first quarter of that game, he benched his 2 star receivers, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, and his offense moved as it should have. Now we kind of stalled out in some parts of the first quarter. We didn't have any turnovers, which was good. He dialed up the run plays. We got back to running the ball, which I said we needed to do in the game preview, right? So he stayed just as balanced. He had the quarterback on the Miami only threw the ball 29 times, but King Miller had those 124 yards on the ground. As due to Riley, he spread the ball around. We can chalk that up to Miami itself for spreading the ball around. But coaching, I'm going to say an A+ for Riley holding players accountable and for Riley getting back to a balanced offense. Overall offensive grade, I'm going to say an A as well. Again, we were effective running the ball. We were effective passing the ball. And again, no turnovers. That's the most important stat line. No turnovers. We did take maybe 1 or 2 sacks in this game, but for the most part, this offensive line performed. And we talked about patchwork. We talked about players being out on the defense. Well, I want to give a special kudos to Coach Henson for having these guys up and ready to play. We have Elijah Page go down at least twice on the season. We had both our centers go down. What happens? We make the shift. We put in some players. We shift some players over. It was right back to running the ball. So I'm going to say an A on both sides, the coaching and on the overall offense.
All right. Overall coaching for me is going to be an A. Like you said, the disciplinary action, setting the tone, right? Mm-hmm. The accountability, that's big. Our 2 star-studded receivers, whatever they did, I'm sure for them to sit out the first quarter, Riley had a good reason to do it. But not only that, it's just that Riley has been what Riley has been all year. He's called a phenomenal game. Every game this year, we've had a trick play. He dialed it up again with the extra point to a
Right.
the juggler. Yeah, we could have went for one. UCLA wasn't coming back at that point, but I like the aggressiveness and I like the design of the play. No better time than now to use that, right?
Right.
If you look back on it, you'll see every game this year we had a trick play. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And we executed them at a high level. You know what I mean? The Notre Dame game was the one time that it went against us, but outside of that, every other trick play he did was executed at a high level and it worked and it was timely. Um, Overall offense, I'm going to give them I'm going to give them an A. Because of the grades that they're going to get each position group, it would be impossible not to give them an A with the grades that I have for them. You know what I mean? The average out. So they played well, even though in the first half it looks like they were struggling. They really wasn't struggling, right? We scored a touchdown. The next two drives we go down. We get in field goal range. At that point, you expect special teams to be able to cash in those field goals, right? To get you another 6 points. Yeah, you won touchdowns, but offense still went down the field and did that. So overall, hey, that takes us right into it. Good segue. Special teams group.
D. And the only reason why
D as you said D as a dog.
Yeah, D as in dog.
Okay.
The second week that our field goal kicker has, failed to do his job. I'm not saying that the kid has been bad all season, but the only reason why they didn't get an F was because of the punt return by Makai Lemon for 34, 35 yards. We could have easily covered the spread, and you heard us talk about this in our last video that we dropped on the game recap. As far as men lie, women lie, numbers never lie, but they can be misleading. This game could have been easily, the spread could have been easily covered, but I don't know what's going on with our kicker, whether or not it was just he was caught up in the allure of the crosstown rivalry. But right now he hasn't been looking too good in the past 2 weeks. So missed another field goal. But what's more importantly is we had one block. It wasn't blocked off the edge. It was blocked right up the center, right between that center and that guard, which means that they were overpowered, right? One player. So for me, I'm going to say a D. Overall, I say the overall. You want me to go ahead and do the overall team grade too?
Yep.
Overall team grade, I'm going to say an A minus. Overall team grade, I'm going to say an A minus. And it's mainly because of Lynn's ability to make those second half adjustments. Coach Ryder's going to be, Coach Ryder, he's going to dial up, those plays. He's one of the best offensive minds in college football, and his willingness to stay balanced even when it appeared we couldn't run the ball in the first half, right? He stuck with it in the second half. So overall, I'm going to say I'm going to give the overall team grade an A minus.
All right. For me, special teams D as well. The only highlight we did have was that Makai Lemon punt return, but a blocked field goal, a missed field goal,
Right.
that just brings the grade down, especially with this being 2 weeks in a row, right? That we're seeing this performance. Mia, with this performance. And so the overall team grade for me is going to be a B. I gave the defensive coaching and overall defensive B, the offensive coaching overall offense to A. So with special teams getting a D, that brings that average down to a B. So overall, the team's going to get B.
Okay.
All right. Let's go into our position groups. It is that time. No Makai Lemon this week. I would have loved to see Makai Lemon on here again, right? One for one. But we only played one quarterback. Jaden Mava, 21 for 29, 257 yards, 2 TDs, no turnovers, no interception, no fumble. Quarterback room, what is the grade?
Well, 180 from last week, even though he had a bunch of yards on last week, we had the turnovers, right? But this week, like you mentioned, no turnovers. He was effective. I think he had a QBR of maybe like 89 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But we're talking about one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Now, this is one of the kids that, a lot of people were saying couldn't read a defense, didn't know the plays, but he come out and lead the country in QBR. So only had to throw the ball 29 times, and he pulled it down and ran it when he needed to. I think this kid is going to only get better. I'm hoping he comes back. I'm going to say an A for Jaden Maiava.
Yeah, and I'm going to give him an A too. His carries say 4 carries for 10 yards, but a longer 21. Of course, that's due to the sacks he took. But when he ran the ball, his long was 21. But outside of that, those other ones were a good 6 or 7 yards, right?
Right.
You remember I was playing around when he made that one cut on that long run, and I said he put the Reggie Bush stick foot.
Right.
So definitely a 21 for 29. He's somewhere around 74%. Trying to do math in my head, might be off by, but he's somewhere in between 72 and 74%. 2 touchdowns, like you said, his QBR was up there. He played a magnificent game. I'm already hearing people saying, "Oh yeah, but their interception he threw, he lucky he got called back." He's not lucky he got called back. The wide receiver, the tight end was pulled down.
Right. I don't know what they look at half the time.
Hey, he got the pass interference call because Lions was clearly pass interference. He was tackled.
Right. He was tackled before the ball got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people find anything to try to, to
diminish what he did.
Yeah, and to push their narrative. So quarterback room, we both going with an A. Moving on to the running back room. King Miller, 17 carries, 124, 2 touchdowns, had a longer 41. Jaden Maiava, his rushing is a little misconstrued due to sacks, but he was very effective on the ground. But he ended up with 4 carries, 10 yards, a longer 21. Makai Lemon had that one reverse. So 1 carry for 2 yards. Ryan Wormley got 1 carry, 1 for 1 yard. B. Jackson got 1 carry, and it was for negative 3 yards. Really, King Miller was the bell cow as he's been since the injuries and all that. Running back room, what do you give the running back room?
I'm going to say an A- on that. Again, like you mentioned before, King Miller, bell cow. In the first half, we couldn't get anything established, and of course, that's going to segue into the offensive line grade, right? Couldn't get anything established. We saw some pressure on Maiava early too. So
with a 3-man front.
Yeah, with a 3-man front. I don't know. I can't remember whether or not we had an empty backfield, but the running back's going to have to do a better job of picking up those blitzes, and that's going to come with time for King Miller.
When they rush in 3, it should be no expectation that your running back needs to block.
Right. I agree with that play. I agree with that. B. Jack, 1 carry for a -3. I still think that turf toe is lingering for him. It's good that we're going into the off season. I don't know whether or not he'll be used in a bowl game. Like I said in the last video that we dropped, I expect for Waymo to be back and fully function for the bowl game. And I expect for it to be the 1-2 punch of King Miller and Waymo. You give B. Jack the proper time he needs to actually heal from that turf toe. Then we still got Riley Wormley behind him and another running back. I can't remember the other running back that we have in that room right now.
Dalton.
But, Dalton. Harry Dalton, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna say an A- on that. I'm gonna say A-. Yeah.
So the running back room is going to get an A from me, right? Even looking at Jackson carry, we'll get to the offensive line, and again the struggles of the first half. It was a tale of 2 games. It's just like the Oregon game, just like the Notre Dame game. It outside of their pass protection, it's hard to give the running back room a bad grade if holes and things are not being opened up, because that's where it starts. But King Miller, even when holes wasn't being opened up in the first half, he would get the hard 3 or 4. He was running hard, and he stayed consistent, right?
Right.
Running back room is definitely going to get an A. Jaden Maiava is included in that. These numbers are kind of misconstrued. Jaden Maiava was very effective on the ground, right? if offensive line is not beat by a 3-man front, right, and he gets sacked, his rush yards. Jaden Mava probably would have 60 to 70 rush yards yesterday on them 4 carries. He was very effective on the ground, so he's included in the rush. So running back room definitely is going to get an A. I mean, even if we took everybody else away, just look at King Miller performance, A.
Right.
All right, moving right along. Wide receiver rooms, and yes, it includes the tight end. Jacoby Lane led the team in yards, 3 receptions, 52 yards, had a longer 28. King Miller out of the backfield was very effective with the screen, 4 receptions, 42 yards. Makai Lemon had 1 for 32 in the TD. Tanuke Hines, again, man, like you said, this kid is coming, right? He's the next big thing for us. 3 catches, 31 yards. Average 20 long with 26 yards. Leighton McCree had 3 for 30, right? 1 touchdown. Walker Lyons had 3 for 22, right? Long of 10. Jaden Richardson, 2 for 21. Ryan Wormley, again, another running back out the backfield, and James Johnson had 1 for 17. Johnson had 1 for 10. All right, wide receiver room.
I'm going to say A. Ball was spread around, but most importantly, we didn't have any fumbles like you mentioned before. I didn't see too many drops on yesterday. Wide receivers put themselves in a position to where they didn't get the catch. There was a pass interference, a PI called on the play, right? Jay Mava spread that ball around, but most importantly, as I stated when we opened up this segment, the coach held his top 2 receivers accountable for whatever team rules or team policy they broke, which the younger talent got a chance to play. You saw more Tanuke Hines, you saw more James Johnson, and they made key catches, right? Also Walker Lyons, he's going to be big next season as well, and Jaden Richardson even had his hand in there with some of the catches. So I want to say an A for our wide receiving core.
B. I'm in a pickle. Well, you know what? We're not talking about off the field. We talking about on the field performance yesterday. Right, I'm gonna go with it. I was gonna dock him a B for being suspended, but as far as on the field play and what they did yesterday as a group, A. This is it too, right? We went into the game. What did I tell you? UCLA struggled with stopping the run, and they were susceptible to the big play.
Right.
Look at the wide receivers' longest receptions. 28, 20, 32, 26, 14. You know what I'm saying? Even our tight ends were getting behind the defense. And not to mention there was a lot of pass interference we got, but there was so much more that didn't call.
Yeah, they did a lot. They allowed UCLA to be real handsy. But you know what I've been noticing, Chris, in this league, in this conference, they allow that on the outside. They allow the DBs to get real handsy.
It just it depends on the week. Last week we were getting a lot of calls and they were missing some. They weren't calling it. It's like the referees are just so inconsistent, right? They'll definitely call it on us every time. But I mean, Jacoby Lane. Remember he did that comeback route and dude was grabbing him, holding his arm, like, come on. And one thing about the Big Ten and SEC and all that, and everybody say, oh, these teams are much more physical and all that. Man, these guys, it's not the physicality, it's the holding. You're holding it.
It's not our holding. It's a different
you're holding these guys, man. But definitely give the wide receiver room, an A. Jacoby, Makai, they did set out the first quarter, but when they came in, they produced. They did their thing. You know what I'm saying? The other guys stepped up while they were out, especially on that first drive. Definitely going to give the wide receiver room an A. All right, moving right along to the big uglies, the offensive line.
I want to say a C minus. First half, we couldn't run the ball at all, right? Jay Mava got sacked a couple times. Couldn't open up any holes. We allowed too much pressure, and the one that got me was toward the end of the first half. when the offensive line allowed a sack with 3 people rushing, which means that UCLA dropped 8 people. We were down 10-7. We're trying to make something happen right before the half, or at least get in the field goal range. And we gave up a sack with 3 people rushing. That's unacceptable. You got 5 people blocking 3. There's no way that your quarterback should be, on his back, right? So for me, it was a tale of 2 halves. The second half, we came out and they did what they're supposed to do, which, you and I talked about it before. And I always said, I don't understand why there is a tale of 2 halves. It's the same 100 yards it was in the first half. So why can't we do it in the first half, like we do it in the second half? But, when you got a 29-10 victory in a game of importance, or a game of this magnitude, where we had to have a win, the team walked away with the win. So I'm not going to write too much on it. This is a building block for the team. We're going to bowl season. We'll get some more time to prepare for the next opponent. Hopefully it's a New Year's Six bowl. And hopefully we can get some more of our offensive linemen back and healthy and come out on victorious in that bowl game. So, but for me, I'm going to say, hey, look, they get a C minus on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. That's the same grade I had for him. I don't know. I thought you was gonna be benevolent. I don't know why I thought you was gonna be a benevolent one on that one.
Right.
Offensive line to C, man. You look at it, we gave up 2 sacks. Mava was, especially in the first half, Mava was pressured, and we were just getting beat up front, right? By UCLA on the offensive side of the line and the defensive side of the line. But what was jaw dropping was the offensive line inability in that first half to open up run lanes and all that against a team that's just as bad as us against the run, right? Going into it, said what we should be able to run the ball on them and get big plays. It was a tale of 2 halves, right? The first half, I wanted to give him an F. You know what I'm saying? The second half, A. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna balance it out with a C. Like you said, to get beat by a 3-man front is just unacceptable, right? We seen it against Oregon and we seen it against Notre Dame all game. They were getting beat by a 4-man front, right? You gotta be able to block that, but there's no way. And what was so jaw dropping about that is that we knew they were getting the ball back a half. We were trying to go down and get a field goal, and we actually had a positive pass play on first down, right? That made us stay aggressive to say, okay, we can get 3 more yards, we can try to get a field goal, and we let the 3-man front sack us and put an end to that. So for that, I mean, we gave up 2 sacks. We can see here we get Mava was sacked twice, and we gave up three tackles for loss as well in the run game. One of them was the B Jack we was talking about, the native 3 yards. He was hit as soon as he got the ball.
Right.
For that offensive line, gonna give him a C. All right, moving right along to defense. Alex Graham led the team in tackles with 7, had 6 solo, had 1 tackle for loss. Desmond Stevens had 6. Christian Pierce had 5. Erlacher had 5. Gentry had 5. Nicholson had 4. Crawford had 4. Jade Abisheri led us in sacks, right, with 1.5. Anthony Lucas had 3 tackles. Jakeem Stewart had 2 tackles, a half a sack. Braylon Shelby had 1 tackle, 1 sack. He could have had a couple more. He could have had a couple more. He could have had a 3-sack day. Jaden Walker 1 tackle, and 1 was for a sack. Devin Tompkins 1 tackle. Marquise Gagos and Selly 1 tackle. Conley 1 tackle. Matai Tagwell 1 tackle. Carlin Jones 1 tackle. Keyshawn Silver 1 tackle. Ryan Kintar 1 tackle. Everybody else had one tackle.
Right.
All right. So let's start it off. Start off up front with the big ugly defensive line. What do you give them?
You got the defense first.
All right. So I looking at these numbers, right, and you especially see our interior guys and up front, right, and everybody had 1 tackle and there wasn't tackle for losses. I really wanted to give them a C, but again, it's like a tale of 2 halves. The first half, the second half, and what Jade Abisheri did in the second half and how timely those sacks was.
Right.
And also Braylon Shelby, how those 3 sacks, I can't. So I'm going to end up giving them a C plus B minus. But I'm going to go with the B minus, right?
B
Because
minus.
yeah, I want to give them a C so bad because of what I've seen in the first half and what have we
Uh-huh.
seen all year. But in the second half, again, we played better. It was aided by UCLA and them not coming out running. They came out trying, throwing the ball.
Mhm.
That first drive, we did get 3 and out, but what happened? They got a penalty on first down, which pushed them behind the sticks, right?
Mhm.
But with the sacks, we were pressuring Nico. The first half, the rush lane integrity was terrible. he would just dip under and run straight down the middle of the field, right? Because our rush lane. Second half, they cleaned that up and all that and start doing what you said, right? Like an anaconda, right? The
Right.
inside rush, don't let them out outside people. They start doing that in the second half, and we start having some success.
Right.
So I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna be benevolent today. I'm gonna give him a B minus.
I'm gonna say a straight up B. And here's my reasoning. And we talked about it during the live. I don't know whether or not Lynn is just saving that for the second half to keep the offensive coordinator from the opposing team from having a good look at the defensive pressures that he's going to bring. I just think that he saves his best for last. So I think for the most part that the defensive line, the entire defense altogether is doing what Lynn wants them to do in the first half.
I don't think so. I don't
I
think he
thought,
wants.
I thought about
I
no,
don't think
no.
he. I
As
don't
far
think
as
he
being
want
pushed,
our interior guys being pushed 5 to
well,
6
no,
yards
not
back.
that, not that. But if they know you're running a 4-3 and you don't want your linebackers attacking, of course the offensive line is going to do what a lot of double teams. So if you notice that a lot of our defensive linemen are getting pushed back, they're getting blown off the ball like that, it's by a double team. I
No,
went.
it's man on man.
Well,
I see a lot of man
I
on
didn't see
man.
the ones that I saw where they were getting pushed back. They were being combo blocked by the center and by the guard. Now I will say this: shout out to Jakeem Stewart. You could tell that kid wants to play. He got in there, got a TFL, assisted with a maybe a TFL or a sack or something like that, and they took him out, and he was furious. He was like, "Look, why y'all taking me out?" I can see the frustration on his face going over to the sideline. But they came out better in the second half. That's what makes me think, you know, maybe Lynn wants them playing a certain way in the first half as opposed to the second half because they've done it for at least 3 or 4 times during the season, right? They did it against Nebraska, they did it against Northwestern. They came out, played, did it in this game. They came out and played entirely different in the second half than they did in the first half. That's got to be the only explanation I can come up with. So for me, I want to say because of the way they perform in the second half. Again, I would agree with you in the first half, the optics of it, I would have given them a D if they had continued to perform like that the entire game, but they didn't. They came in and they redeemed themselves. So I want to say a flat B on the defensive line.
Yeah. And it's like our defensive line says in the first half, we seen them get pushed around, blown off the ball.
Mhm.
And it just seemed like in the second half they said, okay, I'm tired of it. Right. What you should start the game with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sometimes there's a combo block, but
Uh,
majority
yeah,
of the
but I
season,
just can't. I just can't imagine them having to be cussed out every game, and then the second half, all
I
right,
don't
well,
I don't well, it might
you
not even
know,
be a cuss out. It might just be in their mind that they say, okay, no longer I'm gonna let you push me around.
yeah, but
You
but
know,
what I'm saying is every game though, every
hey,
game it's the same thing though.
we've
So
heard we've heard a defensive lineman come out and say that we were surprised how strong they was and all
yeah,
that.
against Northwestern, that's fair. That's fair.
It took us a quarter to the down. So maybe internally it's the same thing. They think teams just
Uh,
gonna fall down because they USC or something and not
right.
prepared. But like I said, the same calls and pressures that he was doing in the second half we seen in the first half. The difference in the second half was players was actually making plays when they were in position.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In the
Yeah,
first half, we
I
had
agree. I
people
agree with
get
that
in
100%.
the
I
first
agree with that
half, we
100%.
had people getting in the backfield and doing they just wasn't making a tackle. And
Right.
so it's just like, guys, why can't you come out with the same intensity? Well, not the same
Now,
focus.
as far as the scheme wise, in the second half, keeping Nico contained within that pocket and not allowing him to escape like he was doing in the first half. Like I said, squeezing in on him, closing the walls in on him like a boa constrictor. That was that scheme was perfect.
So in the first half, they were doing the same thing. You just had your interior guys getting out their rush lane. It was rush lane discipline, and he dipped under their arm and took off and ran right past.
That was on sack, but that's because the ends were rushing too far up the field, though. If you notice,
well, he wasn't rushing. He wasn't rushing under the ends. He was rushing in between the two interior guys. So you have to. So the scheme was the same. It's again that the players actually executed in the second half and did what they were supposed to do. The scheme and the call was still the same.
Right.
Like there wasn't nothing. The play call and things like that wasn't different. It came down to execution. Everybody being in their right pass lane.
Okay.
I mean their rush lane. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it took them a half to say, oh, well, when we rush, he just gonna take off running the dip. I mean, but like you said, if we can see it, and we talked about this pregame exactly what he was gonna do.
Right.
But again, sometimes players have to get out there, even though you coach them and they watch film and they see it. It's just I don't know. Hey, we tried to figure it out last night. We don't know what the issue is to why they don't come out focused and execute in the first half like they do in the second half. Moving right along. The linebackers, man, I mean, outside of what's our linebacker number 31? They got the sack.
Jaden Walker.
Outside of Jaden Walker, I mean, no linebacker really flashed, right? We seen some missed tackles from linebackers, right? A few of them and all that. So for me, they didn't play a bad enough game to get a D. They played a game to get a C, but because of Jaden Walker's timely sack, right, that accounts for something, right? I'm gonna go ahead and give him a B. But no one really flashed. No one really took over the game. They missed some tackles, but no one had any major mess ups. You know what I'm saying? The same thing. We seen some gaps that were not filled correctly. But
you got Desmond Stevens up there. Desmond Stevens had 6 tackles.
Yeah, none of them for a loss. Like you making 6 tackles 5-6 yards down the field. That means nothing to me.
Well, at least he's getting them on the ground. At least he's not missing. You know.
but we can look at the missed tackles from this group, and I know for sure this player had 2 to 3 missed tackles. We know Gentry had some right in the gap, right? That would have been a tackle at the line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? So, but due to a sack, I'm gonna give him a B minus. I'm gonna be benevolent today. We won this 93. I really want to give him a C, but I'm gonna give him a B minus.
I'll say this: they didn't play outstanding, but they didn't really hurt us, especially in the second half. When you looked at the total tackles, Desmond Stevens had 6 tackles, 6 solo. Like you said, Jaden Walker had that timely sack. Eric Gentry had 5 tackles, 3 solo. He's kind of been flying pretty much under the radar here. We haven't really heard much of him. I'm assuming that's because he may not be in the position that he's supposed to be in. I'm not sure whether or not there's a disconnect between him and the coaching staff. Of course, this is his last season. He can't come back anymore. He's out of eligibility. He's off to the NFL. But he's been a true Trojan at heart, man. He's been one of the most consistent and one of the most faithful Trojans. When he could have left, he stayed. He wanted to come back for that final season. And he was kind of hot last season, if you ask me. He was one of the ones that came back, wanted to continue to play on and fight towards that ultimate goal. So for that, I'm going to say the linebacker core, I'm going to give him a C+. I'll give him a C+ on that.
All right. Our last position group, defensive backs. I'm gonna give them a B. The biggest improvement we've seen from the beginning of the year on this team has been, especially at the corners, right? With Nicholson and Marcellus Williams, man. They gained the
And Conley,
trust.
and Conley.
And Conley, yep. That's the biggest improvement we've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot in the second half. A lot of reasons we got off the field because defensive backs was batting balls down, right? On
Right.
third down when they try to do that slant. Marcel Williams had a big one, right? Coming out of halftime, when we got that 3 and out and stuff. I know we gave up a 3rd and 21. I was hot
Man.
about it.
That
And then
was I mean, you gotta chalk that up to Nico though, man. He made that was a good throw, man. That was a really good throw. I hate it because it's 30 21 too, but
I don't care who it is. It can be Tom Brady. You don't give up a 3rd and 21.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you don't. I don't. I don't care who the quarterback is. I'm upset you give up 3rd and 21. But then three plays later, they had a 3rd and 22, and we were able to get off the field. But
right.
the defensive backs, especially being without our safeties as well, Pierce.
What you giving? You said a B, right?
Yeah, I'm giving the defensive back a B.
Okay. I'm gonna say an A, man. And it's mainly because of 3 players. You mentioned 2 of them. The third one is Alex Graham. That kid made some key tackles, and I look for him to do some big things. He's a true freshman. I look for him to do some big things next season. If he can stay healthy, that nickel spot is his. Another player, I mentioned him as my one of my MVPs on the season, Christian Pierce, run support. That guy's only going to get better from what I understand. What is he, a junior? He's either a redshirt sophomore or a junior. He's going to be back, and Marcellus Williams and Braden Conley. I think for the next season, because these guys are getting valuable experience, they're young enough, so they're being thrown in the fire early, which is going to bode well for the secondary next season. I think Lynn, providing everybody comes back, the coaching staff comes back, I think Lynn's going to really be able to get real creative and exotic with those pressures, simply because his young DBs are getting the amount of experience, the game experience that they need now. They're tough, and then most importantly, if they can stay healthy, they're going to be dependable. Alex Graham came on late in the season, but he's been proven to be a good pickup because this kid was actually committed to the University of Colorado. He's committed to Prime, right? Decided to switch. I'm glad he switched at the last second on signing day, signed with the good guys, signed with the Trojans. This kid's going to be special. So I want to say an A.
All right. That wraps up our position grade video. Man, can't believe it. This was the last regular season game of the year. Awaiting our bowl game. Like I said, some predicting Alamo Bowl, some predicting BYU, some predicting Houston. We'll see where everything line up, or even if we excuse me, sorry about that. Even if we get that bowl, but man, definitely at a different place than we was last year. Of course, we wanted to make playoffs, but like we said, our ceiling we thought coming in was 10-2, floor 9-3. Just want to say kudos to the team. Hey, they fought hard this year, man. Battled a whole lot of injuries, big time road games and things of that nature. We definitely seen the growth in this team and in this program. Program is heading in the right direction. We got the number 1 class coming in. That should be validated here on Wednesday. Get these letters signed. I don't see these kids decommitting or anything like that. So we're definitely on the right track. But before we get out of here, B, you want to say something?
Well, you just mentioned it, the recruiting class and building blocks. We put a bow on the end of the season. It wasn't where we wanted to be, but it was definitely a step in the right direction. This time last season, we were looking at a 6-6 record. We improved by 3 games, right? So that takes us to 9-3. Definitely a good way to exit, head into a bowl game. Hopefully we get placed in a pretty good bowl game. But the most important thing was we got a victory at the house in front of pretty much the entire recruiting class from 2026, which means that the majority of them, I believe at least 95 to 98% of them will stick with their commitments on signing day. So whatever narrative that the SEC is trying to put out there as far as like panic, I'm glad these coaching positions are being filled at LSU, at at Florida. All of them had ties linked to Lincoln Riley, Penn State. All of them had ties, right? Hey,
I ain't gonna say
Riley,
ties. I'm gonna say lies.
yeah,
Lies, not
it
ties.
was lies ties to Lincoln Riley, but they knew. Listen, these platforms knew there was no validity to this. This was all in an effort to get the recruits to panic and start decommitting, so USC would not end up with that number one spot. That's what that was an effort for. So um, the team is headed definitely in the right direction. Lincoln Riley has a plan, and he's implementing that plan. But what most importantly is he has a support staff and a GM behind him that believe in his team, and so do the USC fans. So while we love instant gratification, this is going to be a
The
process.
NIL
When you build it like this, the route that they're building it, you don't have to worry about it being faltering along the way because you got a bunch of 1 year mercenaries out of the transfer portal. So again, continue to like the content, man. Continue to share, continue to subscribe. And if we continue to build the channel here at 4th and 9 to victory, we appreciate you guys and look forward to us bringing out more content even in the off season.
For December the 30th that we'll be in the Alamo Bowl, and it'll either be most of this think is going to be Houston. Some think it's going to be BYU. Of course, that has a lot to do with what BYU do in the Big 12 championship game. Of course, if they upset Texas Tech, they'll be in the playoffs. But I know BYU played in the Alamo Bowl last year, and a lot of times they don't like to put the same teams in the bowl back to back. So it's a good chance is going to be the Houston Cougars. But we'll see, man. But we just want to thank everybody that was on the live, not just Saturday, but all year, man. Yeah. Shout out to the Trojan family for joining us. We definitely will be live whenever we get the bowl game and that date. We're going to continue that. Stay with us in the off season. We're still going to have content going. We're going to be talking about portal. We're going to be talking about team needs. Of course, we'll be talking about recruiting for 26 and 27 as we get information as it come in. We'll look at some of those players and things of that nature and break down kind of what we're getting in those players as well. So we will definitely keep the content going in the off season. But definitely want to appreciate everyone that showed up to the live, their comments, the people that called in. We definitely appreciate everybody. Make sure you hit that bell, keep liking, subscribing, sharing. Love your comments. It's okay. We could agree to disagree if we don't agree on certain things, but we feel like everybody's comment and what you have to say is very valuable to our channel, to the USC family. Even if you don't agree with us, that's fine. And if we don't agree with you, that's fine. We still respect you. We still appreciate all your comments and contents and what you share. So, man, Trojan family finished the season off 9-3. Get ready for this bowl game. Get ready for this recruiting that's coming here Wednesday, early signing day. See where we land. See all the players we get, locked in. We're expecting not to lose anybody. There's talk going around. I don't have any inside scoop. D don't have any inside scoop. So we'll never tell you that. We're not the inside scoop people. We get the information as it comes, but there are rumblings that it's supposed to be a flip somewhere in the USC. I don't have an idea who it is, so I'm not going to even speculate. But as it happens, we'll definitely share the news once we know and we see it and it's validated. But again, we appreciate everybody, man. Until later on, as always, fight on, fight on.
Fight on.